What's up out there? Welcome to the next entry in the Learning Path of Exile series. Now, the goal of the series, I want to reiterate this, the goal of this series is for new players or potentially new players to look at some videos and get a feel for what choices they're going to have to make and be able to think about things before they actually jump in the game and maybe go down a path they're not interested in going down. So that's the purpose of this video, is to try to help new players. So in this video, we're going to look at the different character classes and what ascendancies they have available to them, because it might help knowing where the character can go before you actually select a character and commit to something you may not like. So that's the whole purpose of this video and video series, is to help new players out, because I don't think handing them a 6-page build guide and a 2-hour crafting video and a 5-hour let's play to help along, all that is great resources to have, but you need to help them out at the start to get into the game and not push them away by showing them all the hard stuff. My goal with this series is to show you that all the hard stuff isn't really that hard. You just go into it and play it. So that's where we're at, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So let's dive into this. There are 6 classes in the game. I know there are 7. That's because I have the Scion unlocked, which according to my, I didn't realize I did it. I kind of wasn't paying attention, I guess, or if I did do it, I didn't notice it. Let's just say that. The Scion becomes available according to the wiki page in Act 3. Apparently you go rescue her and all that. She is a more advanced character. She kind of combines everything together and is like a more advanced character build. So it's number one, it's not on the starting screen at all to select, and number 2, it's more advanced. So we're not even going to talk about that class beyond this conversation right here. So moving on to the rest of them. The rest of these are split between what are called pure classes and hybrid classes. And I found myself gravitating more towards the pure classes, and I think I know why. Which the pure classes is the Marauder, the Ranger, and the Witch. And I think I gravitate more towards those because they resemble the classes that I'm used to from the original Diablo or Diablo 2, Diablo 3. I know there's some expanded characters like the Necromancer and stuff like that, but the basic characters in Diablo 1 was a melee character, a ranged character, and a magic character. So there's your melee, magic over here, and ranged. So that's as simple as that. These other 3 classes are hybrids, and these actually, instead of focusing on one attribute, they actually focus on 2 attributes. So it's a slightly more diluted attribute layout, but it offers another character class. So for instance, the Marauder is based on strength, so he would get 32 points into strength and then 14 points into intelligence and 14 into dexterity, for a total of 60 points. So each of these pures works out that way. So the Ranger is focused on dexterity, so she would have 32 points in that, and the Witch would have 32 points in intelligence and 14 in the other. Now, is this important? No. Until I researched it for this video, I had no idea how the points were distributed. I clicked on a character, selected go, and moved on with my life. I am telling you this now just because this is how they differentiate between the pure and the hybrid classes, and I think that is why I've gravitated towards the pure classes, because I understand them better and they make more sense to me. Now, your hybrid classes are actually focused on 2 skills. So in the case of, say, the duelist over here, he focuses on strength and dexterity both. So he's going to get 23 points into strength, 23 points into dexterity, and 14 points into intelligence. No matter how you cut it, you're still getting 60 points. 60 attribute points. So again, does it matter? No, but it kind of helps explain why I personally gravitated towards certain characters and away from other ones. As I get it more advanced in the game, I will definitely be checking out all of these different characters, but I've started off with the Witch. I wanted to change things up. Normally I would go with a melee character, but I decided to try a Witch. And then on my second character, I am now working on the ranged character on that side. So that's where those all are. So we're going to dig into what these classes are, what their ascendancies are, and we'll go from there. So the Marauder, according to the wiki page, which I'm going to try to remember to link below, the Marauder uses maces and is based on strength. Kind of not a shocker there. The ascendancies for this class are Juggernaut, which focuses on being tanky, Berserker, which focuses on damage, critical strike, and war cries. A lot of these are pretty, you can see where they're going. The Chieftain focuses on fire and totems. So fire damage and totems. I would call a totem a turret in another game, but to get the terminology right for this game, they are totems. So if you're familiar with turrets and that concept, that's what a totem is in this game. Basically, there might be some differences or nuances to it, but that's pretty much how it goes. So if you're looking for something that's going to buff up what you would call a turret, it is called a totem in this game. Now, the next class is the Ranger. This one is dexterity based. Now, this is something I didn't know. I picked this class because it was a ranged class with a bow, but this can also be decent with a rapier, which is a little sword kind of thing. The ascendancies for this class are Deadeye, which focuses on projectiles, which is the current class that I'm working on now. There is Raider, which focuses on evasion. That's probably going to be a sword-based one. And then this one was kind of interesting. I don't quite get this one. I actually kind of want to look up some build guides and see what this is supposed to do. But the Pathfinder Ascendancy focuses on flasks and flask usage, which in this game, if you're not familiar with, and we'll get into that in a future video, but flasks are not just health and mana. There's a wide variety of them and all combinations therein. So this Pathfinder Ascendancy focuses on the flask usage. So I'm going to dig into that at some point. We'll get there down the road. But I thought it was kind of interesting to see that there was, something based around flasks and not like other stuff. So interesting to note. Then there is the Witch. This is the final pure class, and this one focuses on intelligence and can use a wand or a scepter. Now, the one that I built, I was using a wand, and I focused on the Necromancer Ascendancy, which Necromancer focuses on minions and corpse explosion, things like that. There's an Elementalist, which focuses on elemental effects and golems. I think I did pick up the golem thinking it was a minion. I didn't realize that it was a different item. So the stuff that you would be looking to bolster up minions, I don't believe is going to be the same as what you would do for golems. Although maybe they are, maybe they're both considered minions. I'd have to look into that a little further. That's the limitation of my knowledge, unfortunately. But in the notes, it says this one focuses on golems, which I thought was kind of cool because I did see the various golems that you can get off of the gems in the game. So then there is the Occultist, which focuses on cold and chaos damage along with curses. So if any of these are kind of like what sounds interesting, that's what you would do. Or that's the class you would pick. Now, the Ascendancy is something you actually select far into the game. So the point of this whole video is that the class you're going to pick is going to be limited to those Ascendancies down the road. So if you hear something you don't like, or if the character sounds cool but then has some ascendancies you're not quite sure of, that's the whole point of this. You might want to rethink that. So let's move off into the hybrid classes. Now these are focused basically on 2 attribute points instead of just 1. We're going to start with the Duelist, which is this guy over here. And he focuses on strength and dexterity, and according to the wiki page, swords and axes are his thing. Now, for Ascendancies, he gets Slayer, which focuses on attack damage, attack speed, and leech. Then there is the Gladiator, which focuses on speed and power with bonuses for dual wielding, which I thought was kind of cool. I didn't think you could dual wield in this game. I never thought about it, but makes sense. I kind of figured sword and shield style. And then there's the Champion, which focuses on tanking. That was the best. In looking at what there was for the Ascendancies, it looked like it was more tanking, and there's a couple of these that were all tanking, and I just didn't quite necessarily get the difference between, say, a Juggernaut, and a Juggernaut may be more health focused and this might be more armor focused or something like that, or maybe vice versa. I'm not quite sure on that, but the Champion said had a lot of things for tanking, so that's kind of where it was for. Moving over to the next one is the Templar over here, and I saw somebody mention that this is more of a paladin type character, or as close to a paladin as you're going to get. So this is a strength and intelligence based class that uses staves and scepters. So he's got the big long beaten stick over here. Now, the Ascendancies for this one is Inquisitor, which focuses on elemental damage. That sounds kind of cool. The Hierophant focuses on spells and totems. And then finally, the Guardian, which focuses on tanking again, and allies. But this one has allies. The word allies I thought was kind of interesting. So that it could include other players, minions, totems, mirages, and all that kind of stuff. So it's more of a helpful class to bolster the other ones and make them do more damage or something like that. I didn't really read into all of it, but it sounded cool and it sounded pretty interesting. The final class that we have is the Shadow. Now this is more of your thief, assassin type class. And this one is dexterity and intelligence based that uses daggers and claws according to the wiki page. And the Ascendancies for this one is Assassin, which focuses on critical strike and poison, as you would expect an assassin to do. The Saboteur, which focuses on traps and mines, which I actually think is kind of interesting because it seems like I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out in this game. Because if you're laying traps at the speed that this game moves at times, it seems like you'd have to lay your traps out, draw the enemies into it, and see how that goes. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious how that works. Maybe it's built for speed, so to speak. Not sure. The final Ascendancy this class has is Trickster, which focuses on defense with evasion and energy shield. So again, kind of curious to see how all these play out. I don't know what I'm going to do on my next playthrough. I am working on Ranger right now. I really kind of want to do melee and see how that goes, but some of these hybrid classes seem pretty cool too. So, final thoughts on this. If I were to give any recommendation to this, what is the best, absolute best class that you can pick is the class that you would enjoy playing. That's the one to pick. Don't pick one because you found a build guide that says you got to do this and click here and do that. Pick a class you want and then find the build guide or find something that helps you get through the game that way. Because I think if you start one that you don't like and play it for, it might be a turnoff. So I would try to definitely pick a class that you're going to like and a style that you're going to like. I'm trying new stuff because I've always played melee, but that doesn't mean that that's the way to go forward. I mean, pick something you're comfortable with, especially if you're not used to an ARPG. If you've never played an ARPG before, pick one that sounds cool and go forward. That would be the advice there. If you're used to an ARPG but not used to these types of classes, like the hybrid ones like I'm running into, I would tend to pick the Marauder, Ranger, or Witch and stick to something that's a little more familiar that you can kind of run with. Because if it's familiar, you're going to be able to make passive tree choices, skill choices, and other choices in the game that they're probably going to be a bad build, but it's not going to be as bad as if you took some class you didn't recognize and just started shoving stuff that didn't belong into it. You know what I mean? So that would be the advice that I have. Pick a class that you're going to play and could enjoy for a while. And also, even if you start one and don't like it, I'm going to throw this one in here right now. The stash that you have is shared amongst all your characters. So if you wanted to start several and just see which one worked and which one you liked, you can. They all start with different stuff on the beach, and they basically start with the tools they need for that class. So you could definitely have all 6 characters or all 6 classes to start with, and then just play a little bit of each one and see which one sticks. So that's also an option too. So anyway, that will do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.